What's up guys, Moniz here, and welcome to my review of the Acer Nitro 5-spin. This is a 2-in-1 gaming convertible. It's not a super powerhouse like some of the bigger laptops on the market, but it is light enough that you can carry it in your backpack and still game at the same time. Now, I do like the design. It's very slim, it's very sleek. I love the brushed aluminum metal on the top. Everything is made out of metal, and it doesn't add too much red to it, making it look like your typical gaming laptop. There's nice accents on the hinge. When you open it up, you have these red chamfered edges, which also look great. And of course, the keyboard and the backlighting is red. So once it's closed, it looks like a normal laptop, but once you open it up, it has that gamer look to it. Now, this is a 2-in-1, which means you can flip it up to 180 or 360 degrees and use it as a tablet. You can put it in a tent mode to watch media, or you can leave it in laptop mode like most people do and game on it. You can buy a separate stylus to use with it if you want to draw on it. The stylus is fine. It uses a AAA battery that you plop inside of here, and the writing experience is good overall. The thing that I like most about it is its weight. It's not too heavy. It's about 4.8 pounds, so slightly heavier than the Surface Book 2. Not as light as a regular Ultrabook, but not nearly as heavy as your typical 6-pound gaming laptop. For ports on the left-hand side, you have your power connector, a full-size HDMI port, a USB Type-C port, which is not Thunderbolt 3, so you can't hook up an external GPU to this, but you can power the laptop using a USB Type-C power connector. You have two USB 3.0 ports, and on the right-hand side, you have your Kensington lock, a power button, a USB 2.0 port, a full-size SD card slot, an audio jack, and your volume rocker. In terms of upgradability, the only two things that are swappable or upgradable are the two drives. The first one is a 256 gigabyte M2 SSD. You get your typical read and write speeds, which are fine. Then you have a full-size 2.5-inch hard drive. Kind of impressed to see a bigger drive in here, so if you don't like the speeds on this one, you can always swap it out for another SSD. But unfortunately, the RAM is not upgradable. It's soldered onto the motherboard, and this configuration only comes with 8 gigabytes. You have a battery on the bottom right, and you have two fans cooling the CPU and GPU. The display on this is 15 inches, and I have to commend Acer for putting a good display on a budget gaming laptop. Usually laptops at this price point that are gaming laptops have a sRGB color spectrum of around 65 to 70%. This one has 97%, so it's still color accurate enough that you can use Photoshop on it, get pretty good results, and it also has great brightness, 325 nits of brightness. As long as it's over 300, the brightness is good enough. The only thing that I don't like is the reflection. This is a very glossy screen, so you are going to see some reflection when you're using it. Also, I've heard some complaints about the hinge, people saying it's much too stiff. Personally, I'd rather a stiff hinge on a convertible as opposed to a regular clamshell laptop. The problem is when you're flipping it, let's say in tent mode or in laptop mode or even in tablet mode, the hinge needs to be stiff so the screen doesn't wobble. The webcam on top is 720p, so it's HD. It looks like this, kind of grainy, makes me look a little purple. Not the best 720p webcam, but I'm sure most people will be fine with it. And the audio also sounds like this, so I guess fine for streaming and of course your business conference calls. Sound on the Nitro is actually pretty good. It's coming out of two speakers on top of the deck, so it's hitting you directly in the face, so always better than having it below the laptop. The highs are nice and crisp. There's even a little bit of bass, so gamers should be happy with the audio quality. The keyboard on this is okay. It's not the best keyboard in the world, but it's fine. The travel distance is okay. I think it's about 1.3 to 1.4 millimeters of travel distance. You got a full-size numeric keypad, so if you do a lot of Excel entry, you're gonna appreciate that. And the trackpad, it's plastic, so it's not gonna be the best one. Scrolling, moving around in it is not the most accurate. You're better off connecting an external mouse, but it's not terrible. There's a fingerprint scanner on the top left of it in case you want to use fingerprints to log into your computer, which is always a lot quicker than typing in a password. Now, there's only a couple models you can buy with this. The i7 model, which I have right here, and the i5 version. The i7 model comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM, a 256 gigabyte hard drive, and retails for about $950. It's using the Kaby Lake R refresh processors, the 8th generation U series, which means it's not as powerful as the HK series. The only problem is the 8th gen HK laptop processors are not out yet. With that being said, they're still great processors. You have 4 cores now instead of 2. Battery life is better because the TDP is lower, and overall when you pair it with a GPU, you should get great results. But here's the thing. I didn't get great results when I was gaming. In fact, when I was playing Overwatch, I was getting frame rates of 40 FPS, and this is with settings set to low. However, when I went into Fortnite, I would get frame rates of like 80 to 90 frames per second, but I would get a lot of drop frames, making the games unplayable. The problem is this laptop doesn't have really good thermals, and it's causing the laptop to overheat, thermal throttle, and causing bottlenecks when you're playing games. Now, as a gaming laptop, this is not the greatest thing in the world, but as a productivity machine and very, very light gaming, it does the job fine. Which brings me to overheating. Surface temperatures were about 45 degrees Celsius, which is a little bit too hot for my liking. The CPU inside of here should hit around 40 and below. Also, the CPU itself, when it was under full load, I was getting temperatures of 70 degrees Celsius, sometimes hitting 90, then thermal throttling and stopping. I've read other reviews because I just wasn't sure if it was my model, but it seems to be the consensus with a lot of other people who have reviewed this laptop as well. So this brings me to noise. When this thing is idling, you get your typical 33 to 35 decibels. When it's under full load, you're looking about 45 to 48 decibels. So it gets loud. You do notice the fans, but they're not unbearable compared to some bigger gaming laptops. Battery life is pretty darn good for a gaming laptop. I was getting about 6 hours of use before needing to charge. And like I said before, if you don't have your barrel connector to connect to it, you can just plug in or use a USB Type-C cable and the laptop will continue charging. So here's the bottom line. The Acer Nitro 5 Spin is a good laptop, but it's just not a good gaming laptop. It has a good design, it's light, it's portable, has a decent keyboard and mouse, you got a fingerprint sensor, and the sound is great. The only area that it fails is when it comes to performance. It thermal throttles, it gets a little bit too hot, and I wasn't getting good FPS for a GTX 1050. A GTX 1050 should get me low to medium settings with pretty good frame rates. If you're gonna buy this, you're still getting a great deal for $950, just don't expect to play all the latest games comfortably. So that wraps up my review of the Acer Nitro 5 Spin. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And as always, I will talk to you in the next one.